Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Brett Davis. Joining me today is the Center Square's Eastern Washington reporter, Timothy Schumann. You recently authored a piece headlined Woodward Administration 2 weeks behind on Spokane's 2024 budget audit. So according to a recently passed change to the budget monitoring and review process, Mayor Nadine Woodward of Spokane is about 2 weeks overdue on a pre-year audit. What exactly is a pre-year audit, and how did we get to this position?
Well, a pre-year audit is almost exactly like it sounds. It's instead of the budgeting process coming in the first working day of October, as is required by state law, and then being reviewed by the city council and signed sometime in December. The pre-audit is the city council requesting the budget early at the halfway point of the year. I believe the date they gave is July 1st. And it's going to just allow them that extra time to review the budget and, go over any discrepancies between where they're at currently with their mid-year review and where they're projecting to be next year and adjust accordingly.
So is there any particular reason for moving this up, or is the budget in trouble, or
somewhere between 8.5 and 9 million of them? The budget went from about a $500,000 surplus to somewhere between an $8 and a $9 million deficit for next year.
That's a bit of a swing.
Bit of a swing, and it's projections that not only are the city council's budget people agreeing upon, but the administration has been putting these numbers forward as well. The mayor's front runner as a challenger, Lisa Brown, has been harping on this as a structurally imbalanced budget. I believe she called it at her last press conference.
I see. Now, not to get too far into the weeds here, but what are some of the reasons for these budget difficulties?
A lot of it is that Spokane, the city of Spokane, is, a little over 200,000 people. And in the last 3 years, they have drawn down around a $28 million reserve fund. Now, some of that was pandemic related funding. Some of that was planned, as in they had back contract negotiations with many city unions. And a large chunk of it went towards that. And that was, planned for. That's why you've put away savings, is to, use it for expenses that you're foreseeing in the future. However, this $28 million drawdown also happened while the city received over $80 million in federal American Rescue Plan Act funding.
I suppose those are running out.
And or many of them were just one-time funds, and you can't structure a recurring budget issue around one-time funding.
Right. And your story also mentioned something about funding a Trent Resource Assistance Center shelter. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the Trent Resource Assistance Shelter, or TRAC Center, as they're calling it, was funded in part to ameliorate the homeless problem ongoing in Spokane. The problem is that site and that structure are not owned by the city. They're merely being leased, and the city is being forced to put in pretty substantial capital improvements into the structure to make it habitable as a shelter. And they're doing so without any real stake in ownership of the future of that structure.
Now, getting back to this pre-year audit, do you think they're going to be able to catch up on this? I know you said they're 2 weeks behind, but do you have any sense of a timeline or how things are progressing in that regard?
I don't know for a fact. It sounds like the administration has been meeting more frequently with council than they have in the past. However, I don't believe that the mayor has released her planned budget for next year. And that's really the issue. It's not that there's not communication between the administration and the city council. There is. It's just that the city council hasn't been given the go ahead to here's where the line in the sand is for next year. Here's where we're planting our flag. And then the city council can work from there. Right now, they're just working off projections that, in their opinion, are outdated.
I see. So it sounds like they're waiting for the mayor to turn in her homework, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a reasonable way of phrasing it if your homework is worth, tens of millions of dollars.
All right. Well, we look forward to you keeping us updated on the budget shenanigans in Spokane. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Timothy Schumann, this is Brett Davis. Please subscribe, and thanks for listening.